indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gessler, Childers, here. Collins, here. Lee,
Here.
McGrath, Sullivan,
Here.
Owen, here.
Okay, welcome to everyone, and Happy New Year to all. We have a nice break. We're going to start with a fun section of the meeting with 207's best for improved performance, and we'll start with Maine South.
Thank you. I'd like to present Dan Hucks as Maine South's most improved student for this month. Dan? So Dan's story is not just one of academic progress, but definitely one of personal progress. It's a lot of times people will say that high school years are the best years of your life. But I think you can also talk to a lot of students and say they're also sometimes some of the most challenging. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of challenges to fit in, and then there's also that challenge to try and break out and be yourself, true to who you really are as an individual and a person. And Dan didn't necessarily start his career at Maine South that way. He struggled a bit academically, began to fail some classes, and really had some troubles. He fell in with the wrong group of friends, started to make some choices that I think now he probably regrets. But at the time seemed like the right thing to do and was fulfilling the need that he had to fit in. But Dan, heading down that path, had an experience that took him pretty close to death. He had gotten involved with drugs and alcohol, and things weren't going very well. But that experience helped him really put his life in perspective. And he did something that a lot of adults sometimes can't do. He really began to find out who he was, find his way, and really take control of his life and the decisions he was making. With that, he started to bring in school. The SST helped get him into guidance study. I see Mr. Palicki's here tonight, who's his guidance study teacher, to help him turn his grades around. And Dan went from failing multiple classes to passing every single one of them. He's on the path to graduation this year. He also took control of some of the challenges he had and began attending AA meetings. And now Dan also invites friends to AA meetings as well to help them process and work through some of the difficult things that they have going on in their lives. He actually now is a popular student in SST because he also helps his fellow students be successful with their academics when they're in SST, and I'm sure he lends Mr. Palicki a hand, which is helpful to John. But he's been maintaining those grades and re-engaged with school also through the music department. He loves his guitar classes. He's also in the chamber choir where he's connected with Mr. Haynes, and it's making it one of the best parts of his day. So Dan has become a self-motivated learner, which is a challenge for all of us to do sometimes. And he's definitely invested in his academics and in his future. Mr. Palicki has stated Dan has a great heart and is always willing to help any of his classmates. Dan has worked so hard to turn his academic work and personal life around through his 4 years at Maine South. I'm so proud of him. And Dan, I wanted to say the same thing, that we're proud of you too. As I mentioned, high school can be really, really challenging. And sometimes adults don't understand all the kids have to go through. And I think you're a shining example of how strong a young person can be, and when the right people come around you to help, and you did something other that's very mature. You asked for help, and you got it, and you moved on, and I can't tell you how proud we are to have you here today and to be honoring you. Congratulations. Dan, who'd you bring with you tonight? And what are maybe some of your plans as you leave us in the spring?
I brought my stepdad, my little sister, and my mom with me. After high school, I'm planning to go to Oakton for 2 years, and I'm not too sure where I'm going to go after that. I want to transfer to another school and pursue something with music, probably music engineering, so I can produce my own music and such, and yeah, that's kind of what I want to do.
Awesome. Got a couple of gifts for you.
I am pleased to present Arsha Dijna. So if I tell you a little bit about Arsha, I can tell you right now, if you checked his schedule, he's a student who's enrolled in 4 AP classes this year. He was enrolled in 2 APs last year as a junior. He's been sort of a poster child for CTE, taking a wide variety. It hasn't particularly been one strand, but I think he's had Intro to Business, Auto Fundamentals, Culinary Arts, and he's in Project Lead the Way with Civil Engineering right now. He's also taken 2 years of Spanish, so he's a triple threat in terms of language because his family's first language is Farsi. He obviously does very well with English because he's doing very well in APs, which we know are very language heavy, and he studied Spanish. Outside the classroom, he's a member of the Maine Historical Society, National Honor Society, Rotary Interact, where all the club sponsors comment on his leadership and his dedication to Ink Project at hand. So you're probably thinking, well, okay, this kind of sounds like a 207's best from most other months. But this is kind of where Arsha's story is a little bit different in terms of his life before Maine and before coming to America. Arsha grew up in Iran, and there his family practiced the Baha'i faith, which was not the cultural norm. And when he was a young child, second or third grade age, family moved here to America. So as a grade school student, he found himself here in a country where he did not know the language, he did not know the culture, and dug in and decided to grab the bull by the horns, so to speak, and learn it. The thing that I hear from his teachers, from multiple people that told me something about Arsha, is that he is this incredible leader in the classroom, and he's been that way since his freshman year through his senior year, particularly in the way that he is a bridge. So when he's in a class, particularly in CTE, where you've got an elective class, it's a wide variety of student interests and, frankly, success levels or academic chops, if you will. He's a student who gets it. He's very bright. He's incredibly hardworking from all accounts. But he also understands what it's like to sort of be the other, or to be an outsider, or that kind of thing. And that's always seems to be present as he extends a hand in terms of helping others understand, to be successful, to feel accepted. One of the things that was kind of unique about the information I got is that 2 of the teachers that were very, very passionate about having Arsha receive this recognition this month at East are teachers that had an opportunity to work with him when he was a freshman, and that now have him in an AP class at East. So again, either in my inability or unwillingness to be succinct, I want to read a couple of these statements that I've gotten from teachers. The first is from Kathy Craig, who had Arsha as a freshman English student and now has him in advanced placement lit. She says, freshman year, I remember Arsha's work during our study of The Book Thief. This was a difficult text, especially for a former ESL student, but Arsha accepted the challenge and persevered. His tenacity was an impressive trait in a 14-year-old boy, but it was easy to see that Arsha was intrinsically motivated. He was working hard to understand everything about that novel, not just the literal story. One of the difficult reading skills we were working on was author's purpose, and Arsha was one of the few students who inferred author's subtext. During this unit of study, Arsha was a valuable class member and small group member because of his insights and willingness to work cooperatively with others. In our AP Lit Comp class this year, Arsha has again distinguished himself as a scholar among scholars. He's a class leader, an affable student who is friendly to everyone. Once again, I am counting on him to inspire other students by his example in homework completion, in peer editing, and in class discussion. And Arsha never lets us down. He read How to Read Literature Like a Professor first quarter and expertly applied the book's principles to the literature we were studying in class. Through class discussions and formal essays, he's demonstrated his analytical skills and has articulated his insights with aplomb. His confidence as a scholar has improved since he was a freshman in my class, and that confidence is certainly appropriate. Kathy went on to talk a little bit about as a freshman, through the benchmark testing we do through the year, his reading was not very strong. And in the middle of his freshman year, as about this time of year when we're selecting classes, Arsha was going to be required to take a reading class as a sophomore. So Kathy sat down and they made a plan, and Arsha set some goals for himself and worked through. And by the end of the year, he was achieving solidly on the benchmark test to the point that he didn't need to take the reading class. And clearly, as I mentioned, based on his achievement, he's pretty adept in terms of his reading literacy skills. The second thing I want to share with you is from Shnez Solomon, who was one of our social science teachers and has Arsha in AP Macro Microeconomics. Shnez, if you don't know her, is a lovely, lovely person, a great teacher, grew up in Tito's Yugoslavia. So she understands that ESL perspective from a very personal standpoint. This is what she wrote. As an immigrant child myself, I appreciate how the immigrant experience changes an individual in the most profound way. Arsha truly values the opportunities in this country because he's fully aware that most children in his country, Iran, will never be awarded realization of their dreams. He appreciates the sacrifices that the parents made in order to enable their child to have a chance for a better future. Arsha's unassuming demeanor, his shy sense of humor, and his quiet voice are the polar opposite of all things ego. He never presents himself as someone who has something to prove, but instead he is perfectly secure in who he is and where he's going. I credit his family for instilling a strong sense of work ethic and doing what is right from an early age. The world does not revolve around Arsha as he sees it, but instead he feels a sense of obligation to contribute to the world around him. He is a deeply spiritual person who accepts others as they are and appreciates what they bring into his world. This young man is truly appreciative of the kind tolerance this country brings to him and his family. Arsha's persevered through many things. Great human being, again, one of a cast of many students who makes us very proud at Maine East. I think he makes his family proud and should feel pretty good in his own right about what he is doing for himself to prepare the way for, I think, what will be a great future. So, Arsha, congratulations, and best of luck to you after graduation. So, who's here tonight?
Tonight I'm here with my little brother Bardia, my father Parvis, and my mother Asana.
Great. And what are your plans next year?
Next year I'm planning to go into architecture, and I'm not 100% yet, but I'm planning on going to IIT, Illinois Institute of Technology, and completing a 5-year program for a professional degree for architecture.
Great. Congratulations.
And I'd like to introduce to you Emil Smokina. And I'm actually going to have Emil sit next to his dad so we can practice. We'll speak Romanian and not English. And I don't speak Romanian, so I can't do that myself. So Emil came from Romania July before his freshman year. So imagine coming 15 or 16 years old?
I was 14.
14 years
Yes.
old, okay. And starting not even a month later at Maine West as a freshman, speaking very, very little English, right? So Emil starts in our level 1 ESL program. And if you speak a second language, it's hard for those of us who speak English, but if you're speaking a second language, what the process is, as it's been explained to me, is students hear it in English, they translate it to Romanian, and then they understand it in Romanian, or try to, and then speak it back in English. So it's a very convoluted process. So when Emil started at Maine West, he would take a very long time to answer questions. And very often, teachers took that for him not understanding, because Emil, when you talk to him, he stares, and he listens, and he translates, and then he translates back. But he's very, very quiet. He's a shy student. So teachers assumed that he wasn't understanding what they were saying to him. But within our ESL program, they recognized that pretty quickly and realized that this is what was happening, and Emil is super smart and was going to get out of ESL as quickly as possible and onto the AP track, so that now by senior year, he is in 3 AP classes with no ESL assistance. And he's described as being compassionate, analytical, and very, very friendly, which is not how he would have been described his freshman year because he kept to himself quite a bit. However, he also listened to us when we said get involved in high school, and that's not always easy for an ESL student either. So he took it upon himself to join the swim team. He's also been an AP student leader. He's also taken 3rd place in the history fair and 3rd place in Skills USA. So not only academically, but athletically, he's evolved, and he's been a coach tutor for other ESL students. So he's a rock star in this really short amount of time, having come here and not speaking English to now excelling and tutoring others. I said a lot there, sorry.
You can summarize.
Summarize, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a rock star.
Make sure you get rock star in there, yes.
Dr. Cotting said I was a rock.
That's right, that's right. Yes, yes. He's been a member of Project Connect, which is a really neat program where students connect with other students who are new to the school or who are not connecting well. So Emil has been a Project Connect leader, so that he's helping other students when they come to Maine West as well. He's tutored both 9th grade and 10th grades who are struggling academically, and has really just done a nice job fitting in at Maine West and doing a terrific job with us. He's got a great attitude. He's always striving to do better, and his teachers love him because he stops to ask questions, and he doesn't let the conversation go on until he's sure he understands, which is an awesome attribute to have. And as he gets better with the English language, he just gets better and better at being an academician. And of course, Maine West would like to take some credit for helping you along, but really this was intrinsic. Your motivation and your determination to do well in high school has really shown through, and you've done this pretty much on your own, with us on the outside pushing you along. So nice job. You're welcome. So on behalf of Maine West and all of his teachers and his counselor, Shamoon Ibrahimi, who nominated him, we are honored to have him as 207's best. Okay, so tell us who's with you and then tell us your plans for next year.
So with me, it's my dad. He doesn't understand English. I don't know. My goal for the future is to proceed to the computer science career. I want to take the community college for 2 years in computer science, then to transfer for another 2 years or maybe 4, depends by location, for university and be a computer scientist.
And with his outstanding GPA now, he's definitely a candidate for a scholarship to Oakton through the casino grants that we get. So he'll start off his career as a freshman with a great scholarship to start off as a college. So make sure your dad knows that too.
Very, very proud of you.
all very different ways, but very important ways. So thank you for the great example that you give to all of us and to all the other students that you touch. This is your chance now to go out and have a picture taken with your principal, and also a chance for you to leave the meeting if you don't want to stay for the whole meeting. So thank you very much.
And bring your stuff just
We're gonna go down the hallway there, take the picture, come on.
Yeah, bring all your stuff.
Take out your stuff, you don't have to come back.
But
if you leave it, you have to come back.
But you're welcome to come.
You're always invited, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. We'll go ahead and move on. Do we have any public comments?
There are no cards.
Could I have an update from the superintendent?
A couple of things very quickly. The first is, and it's really pertinent to the thing tonight, our own Dr. Terry Collins is going to be honored next month by the Park Ridge Chambers and Community Star for the many, many, many hours that she puts in to support students from throughout Maine Township. It's a Park Ridge Chamber Award, but it's really for her work not only in Park Ridge, but throughout the entire Maine Township community. So we're very proud of Dr. Collins. It is a very, very worthwhile and certainly deserved award for the countless number of hours that Terry puts in. If you would wander out here some night at 10 o'clock, it wouldn't be a shock to see Terry out there, and that might even include on a Sunday. So just very, very pleased, and many of us will be present for that next month. Secondly, I sent an update on that. Thank you, thank you. I sent an update to the board. We were approached from the city of Park Ridge regarding the possibility of doing another traffic study at Maine South High School. Sean remembers this because this happened just before he came on board. Most of the others weren't on board, but we actually did a traffic study about 10 years ago at Maine South High School and looked at the entire perimeter of Maine South. And in fact, while we did the study, we actually did studies for East and West as well, just to look at egress in, egress out at different times because of traffic patterns. People think, well, it could be this or it could be that. And so I'll dig that traffic study out and send it back out. And it does include, I think, a list of recommendations. And if my memory serves me right, I think we end up following all the recommendations from the traffic study, including making the paying of a full-time crossing guard back on Talcott itself part of what we do on a regular basis. But I'll send that back out to the board members, and if we want to talk about it further after that, we can do that. So that is it for me.
Thank you very much. Are there any updates from board members?
Actually, I'd like to comment on, we had the opportunity, Carla and Paula and I, had the opportunity to meet with teachers, and it was a kind of coffee December 21st, 22nd, or 20th, 21st, and 22nd. And we went and met with East, West, and South. And it was, for an hour, and we just talked. Teachers had different issues, and but mostly it was an opportunity to. It was a very congenial type of meeting, and very informative for me, because one, there were some issues that came up that we heard out from every single school, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But what I wanted to say predominantly was I thought that the meeting was a very good use of time. I'm glad that I felt like we had a little bit more, we were a little bit more in touch with some of the teachers, and because I really don't get a chance to, even though I'm over in Maine South, I don't really get a chance to talk to anybody about work necessarily, because I have my own work to do, and usually I'm asking them for favors. So, it's just, I don't really have time to hear. So it was nice to have a very dedicated time to listen to that. So I would really like to suggest that the board continue to do that on a more regular basis. I think the last time it happened, it might have been a couple of years ago. And so, at least that's what I understood. I don't know, you guys probably know better than I do. But I just really thought that it was worth the time. And then, to that respect, I'm not gonna go into detail on it, but, and I think, Barb, you might have already gotten some of it, but I wanna say for the record, is that there were two really big issues that came out of that, and that was the combination of the Killer Zero and the retest policy. And I can, you know, it wasn't just from one teacher at one school, it wasn't just at one school, it was from every single teacher at almost, I mean, at all three schools. So to me, that's something that says, hey, you know what, we better take a look at this and kind of, maybe we have to tweak it or take a look at it. I'm sure you're already looking at it.
Yeah, we have a meeting scheduled for, I think it's January 30th, to reconvene the grading studies policy committee. We've added some more teachers to that, so yeah, thanks for that. And we'll take a look at that.
Yeah, okay, good, because I think that would be a positive thing for everybody. So, I mean, my bottom line, my recommendation would be to do that, and whoever else can come. You know, it's a good use of time, I think.
Yeah, and it was I mean, I just want to be clear, it wasn't like a meeting in the
No.
sense of it was conducted. It was very casual, you know,
Yeah.
coffee and donuts, and we didn't have much to say, we just listened, so I think it was a nice opportunity for us to do that.
We got good donuts.
And it was, you know, it was a little bit of a hard week, but, you know, there were
Yeah, it was
nice
just-
turnouts and,
Yeah, I remember 2 years ago, and it was at different times, and it was very, very helpful. I know it's not time, but it was a good idea for the board to go about it.
Just want to quickly say to everyone, Happy Lunar New Year. Year 2017 is the year of chicken. And, yes.
Is that good?
It's supposed to be good, yes.
Okay,
Anyway,
great.
we're voting every 12 years, we can recalculate it. The Lunar New Year, this time is January 28th. And then Lunar New Year is celebrated by many Asian countries, including like Korea, Japan, China, Vietnam, and Philippines, and many Cambodians, and so on. So we are looking for.
all right, let's move along to policy committee update. So I'm going to do that in Margaret's absence.
Go ahead. Yeah, basically, the policy committee met simply, we're reviewing all of our series of policies in hopes of essentially adopting the recommended policies with our board's, you know, specific tweaks and impressions, such that we can have an easily identifiable and easily updated set of policies that are always gonna be current. And so, by going through this process, we're going through painstakingly one series at a time, and we have 8 series, and we have many, many policies. The good news is, we are starting to find out that we can condense several of our old existing policies into maybe one new policy. And so, our policy book might shrink from 4 inches down to maybe just 2 inches. That's our goal, so. And we're gonna continue that. We have a meeting on the 25th, and then on the following Wednesday, February 1st, maybe, I think it is. And,
As far as timing of things, do you have an idea of how long it might take?
It's getting pretty difficult now because I'm in this series where they don't match up nicely with the press series. So I'm having to search through 3 to 5 different series to find out, okay, where's our existing policy on that topic? So, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So I think we'll have at least the 3,000 and 4,000 series to talk about at our first meeting in January.
Okay.
At the January
At the
25th.
committee meeting.
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Finance committee update.
The finance committee met December 15th to adapt the policy, called over 5 o'clock, attended by myself and member Childers. There were 5 issues that are included brought before the committee. First one was the annual review of the property tax appeal board and the report from the appeal process there. Second one was an annual update of TIF income and revenue. Third one was a renewal and update on the SCRIMP, which is the Secondary School Cooperative Risk Management Program. Fourth was discussion of the budget parameters for 2017-2018. A lot, of course, depends on what happens with the state and where they're at with financing. And the last one was a discussion of the Maine South Yearbook contract with Joe students. And from my understanding, changes were made to the contract, and they're in for board review tonight with the year to 5:37.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving along to monthly status of finances. Mary?
In your board packet is the November financial statement. On the revenue side, as Member Sullivan pointed out, our revenue, we won't really know where we're gonna end the year until 6 days after we end the year, because there's probably a couple $1 million of state revenue that we don't know if we're gonna get or not. And we won't know. They have no idea. On the expenditure side, we are tracking in line with budgeted expenditures and are looking pretty good, knock on wood. Winter always is a little bit nerve-wracking because we're not sure how much snow or how cold it's gonna get, and it's been pretty cold. So I'll entertain, and actually I'll go through them all, and then I can answer any questions on all of the reports. The next report in here is the summary of the property tax appeals board. So what we've done is given you all of the outstanding, so the property tax appeals board is, after the board of review, this is one route that a taxpayer can take to appeal their taxes. And any assessed valuation decreases of $100,000 or more, we are notified and have an opportunity to intervene on. Forensic represents us in these cases. Over the years, we've been able to preserve 72.24% of the revenue. So that means we've only settled cases for less than 28% or 28 cents on the dollar. And on the bottom, we gave you a summary of how much it costs us per year to do that. So we had a high year of 67,000, but the average typical year is probably in the $30,000 range in cost to do this, and that includes legal fees and appraisal fees. So we give you all the detailed years of who's outstanding. The next item is the Secondary School Cooperative Risk Management Program renewal. We go on to that pool for property liability and workers' compensation and fixed cost health insurance. On January 1st, the property liability portion of the pool insurance renews. So we gave you that renewal. Our allocation increased about 4%, and this is largely driven through claims costs. And we've had some claims in the last several years, including the Maine South Pool, which I think we often forget about, but that was a $50,000 claim.
Maine East.
Maine East, yes, I'm sorry. I'm looking at Mike going south, okay.
You're welcome, Mike.
We also, this year, are consolidating the health broker agreement into being one agreement under SCRIMP, and that provides some continuity. Because by having individual agreements, if one school district goes with another broker, we'll lose the fixed cost savings we have for SCRIMP. So we wanted to have an opportunity to get that consolidated, to have the same kind of time frames for leaving the pool for fixed costs for health insurance, so that the other members could make decisions to preserve their savings. Then we've also included the surety bonds, both on the township treasurer and on myself. When I came here, I purchased a surety bond because I'm the treasurer for student activity funds, and we have a couple $1 million in student activity funds, so I thought that I should have a bond for that money. In board books is a nice color summary of our insurance coverages, our deductibles, and our layers, and that is a document that I think that you might want to refer back to at some points if you ever have any questions or get questions, because that's a nice summary of all of the coverage that we are provided. So I will entertain any questions that, one more, budget timeline and assumptions. We actually started putting the budget together with the levy in December, so we laid out the time frame and the assumptions. We're really looking at a deficit of no greater than $1 million as our target, but then saying whatever the state does to us, because we're not gonna know when or how or anything, that will increase or decrease the deficit, probably increase, but I've been saying that for 4 years and they haven't really done anything to us. But they're out of money, that we will then react to that next year in terms of adjusting whatever we need to adjust. So these timeline and assumptions look very much similar to previous years, and we are awaiting the 2016 CPI, which should come out, and then I think on the 19th. So that hopefully we put in 1, hopefully it's higher than 1. So that would be nice. 1.7 would be nice. Yeah. So I'll entertain any questions that anybody has on the financial reports.
I have a question, Mary, on, this is just because I don't know about this. That for the state, so the state, they made part of their contribution in 16, is that right?
So,
like they owed us X
okay,
millions
so
of dollars.
they always, I mean, they're consistently, the last couple of years have given us 2 payments within the actual fiscal year, 1 payment within 60 days after the end of the fiscal year, which you then get to count, and then the last payment before the end of December. And that's what they did this year, but the question becomes, we've not seen any 2017 money, and we're not entirely sure, nor is the state, if we're gonna get 1 payment or 3 payments this year. And yeah, 1 payment, or they think they'll probably be able to swing at least 1. I've not heard anybody say, you're not gonna get anything. But, you know, that's our mandated categoricals for special education, so that, and transportation, so that's a chunk of money. So certainly if they short us 3 quarterly payments, that's gonna have an impact on us. I mean, while they've always paid us in December, this year, they literally cut checks on December 30th. So it was like the last day that they could, because they have 6 months after the end of the fiscal year to cut those checks. We're not sure what happens if they don't. We don't wanna find out. There's some thought that encumbrance lapses and then they don't owe you the money anymore. So there are just scary times. So I was looking at the state site to see those payments all throughout December, and day by day getting more and more nervous until they finally came through on the 30th.
I guess the thing that I'm starting to get, I mean, I think about it, I get really nervous, I can imagine what you are. But I was thinking about the fact that there's no budget yet, the whole idea of how long can you postpone it without a budget, I mean, the idea that, just the fact that you're having a thought in your head, you don't know if they're gonna get 1 payment, 3 payments, or any payment, and the fact that they're gonna, there's 2 bills out there right now that are proposed for freezing the property tax. And I mean, I'm just, like, do we have some, I don't know, 911 plans for,
Well, that's why
for
we've intentionally been conservative and prudent and run either small deficits or small surpluses and have reserves, because for years, I've been saying the state's gotta do something, they're out of money, and then every year, the state doesn't do anything, and I say the state's gotta do something, and I mean, I think they've reached the edge where I think shortly they're gonna have to do something, because one, the mentality has changed. There's not the just pass the budget and move on and let the amount of unpaid bills continue to grow, but it can't be good. I mean, you know, that's always my thought, is it can't be
The 2
good.
bills, they did get out of the finance committee today, neither one of don't think that anything's gonna come of them. I think what's gonna happen is gonna happen, if anything happens, it's gonna happen in spring. What's being talked about now is the grand bargain, which is the combination of multiple things that might get you something done. But and they've been talking about that for how many years now, and it still hasn't happened.
I'll have a similar question to Member Collins. So therefore, what is our currently the state owe us actually, the O2 district for past few
For
years?
past, well, for last year, they're all paid up
What
finally.
they did?
Um,
So until up to last year, we
Last
did
year,
receive full amount.
correct. The only 2017 state money we've received is general state aid. And they intentionally do that because there are some school districts that is how they're funded. So without that state money, they cannot open their doors. But in terms of the remainder of the categorical funds, which is a couple $1 million, we've not seen any money. for
But
this
until
fiscal year.
last year, so-called,
Yeah.
the state did,
They
pay-
eventually pay.
pay.
That has been their record for the last,
and what was
doesn't
like
matter.
average amount the state's budget, the state that pay our district?
well, so we get about $8 million from the state, 3 million, just over 3 is general state aid. So we get 5 million that is but they do things like they're paying the driver's ed reimbursement fee, which is $122,000. So they kind of pick and choose little things that they're current on, but other things that they just told them all in the queue, you know.
Because I know higher education like universities, they are anxiously waiting for the money that is to be received from the state funding, and they have none, and they're having tremendous hardship for us, so at least with that. But as you mentioned about we're expecting maybe 1 million budget or so, possibly. How do we cover that? I know Terry was also asking that, but when we are in expecting such deficits, where do we get
We
it
have
from the revenue?
reserves, and what we've done is, our philosophy has been, it's okay to run a small deficit when the cause of that deficit is capital projects. So as you recall, in November, we passed about 13 million, 10 of which will be funded from bonds of capital projects. So those are one-time expenditures, so we don't have a structural deficit. Part of the issue is that do you intentionally, if I had budgeted for what I thought the state would pay us for the last 5 years, we would have ran rather large surpluses, because I've always thought they've got to stop paying. I mean, they don't have any money, but they somehow continue to eventually catch up. So it's all late, but on paper, it looks like the state is providing the funding, it's just super late.
And so average overall for past, let's say, at least 2-3 years or so, have we been running would you say deficit of about?
We've run even when we predict that we'll have $1 million deficit, our goal is to perform at least 1% better than budget, which would put us at a small surplus. We can't always guarantee that, because someday we're gonna have the state funding that's not there in the budget, and that could cause a bigger deficit. But we have been running small surpluses when we budget small deficits.
And also just one quick comment, I know you were mentioning about 2017 grant, the consolidated with the other district. I think that's a very good idea. So definitely we could be able to save the money, and we will know how the other district may charge or receive the payment through us. So hopefully we could be able to save the money with collaborating, consolidated with other districts.
So we do have 12 million out there in debt though, right, in the bonds?
Our total outstanding debt, it's slightly more than 12 million, because we have a small bond from 2009 that remains unpaid. So I think our total outstanding debt, off the top of my head, I would say is less than 20, probably closer to 15 or 16 million dollars. All issues. We just issued $10 million.
So we owe, off the top of your head, about 15 million. about zero, we're floating around.
And we have the lowest debt burden of any of our surrounding school districts by a long shot. I mean, I think ours is $700.
We still owe
We still owe.
up to $50 million. So when it comes time to talk about paying salaries and other expenses, we need to be, some of that's gonna filter down to things that we normally don't touch.
Right, I mean, and we've intentionally tried to, for as much as we can, control expenditures to the cost of CPI. CPI has not been our friend lately because it's been at historical lows year after year after year. But we tie as many contracts as we can to the consumer price index in terms of increases.
And what is the amount in the reserves for capital?
There's no set, so there's like two funds that primarily pay capital projects. One is the operation and maintenance fund, the other is the capital projects fund, and I think combined, they may have a total of 18 million. But again, in the operation and maintenance fund, we have salary and ongoing expenditures.
Not that fund.
Okay, so just capital projects, it's around, it's right here.
So it's usually like
you look at
anywhere from 6 to
fund
10 million.
equity, it's at 6 million, 6.6 million in capital projects.
Would it be fair to say, take the 6 away from that 15 million, that would be 11 million, not 15 million, 9 million instead of 15 million?
Yeah.
We have cash.
And we have cash, the issue becomes, given the age of our building.
Right,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
there are dollars that need to be spent on old buildings, but there are dollars there.
there are dollars there.
And we have debt of 15 million.
Correct, and I'll put in Friday notes the exact debt.
No, it's just, it's a philosophy of it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Just want to quickly echo with Member Childers, I do agree. Eventually, our economic situation overall is not going to be bright for next few years and so on. So there's always a deficit that we have to be cautious in mind. Therefore, of course, past few years, we're in a deficit of 12 mil to 15 mil or so, but we really got to find a way to definitely maybe tighten our belt or trim down the cost of somewhere something in order to, cover as much as deficit as possible, so that when time comes, when we are hitting a hardship with economically, financially burdened, so we can be at least ready.
I don't think anything can be exempt.
Our philosophy has been to be pretty lean.
yeah, I mean, I think if you look at our assumptions in terms of increases, we've tried diligently and successfully to control two of our largest expenses, which are salary and benefits, and I think that working collaboratively as a district, and I mean everyone in this district, making decisions on do we need to replace someone when they go, how do we grow programs that we need for struggling students in a cost-neutral manner, and we've been very successful working very hard together to make those decisions.
Well, and the new idea of what Greg proposed 6 months ago, 9 months ago, putting things like that in place that weren't in place before, and expanding that scale to 25 steps.
We're at 30 now, so.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing though is this property tax freeze, right? I mean, because I can't imagine anybody saying no to that. I mean, it's a very good thing politically to do. I mean, I mean, Ed Red, I know is taking a position to veto all that and getting our member schools to veto it, but I mean, I asked everybody on my block, they'd be like, yeah, freeze my property taxes, so.
There's multiple problems with that. One is just the way that the funding is done in Illinois. Until you have a lecture plan, then, which is the whole grand bargain, and Illinois doesn't have that plan. So that's one issue. The second issue, although the bills today included the home rule, so the villages and the towns, which haven't been part of what's been proposed so far, you really can't truly freeze people's property tax, and that's the part that people don't understand. And certainly, when you include the home rule, you get a lot closer to it. But it's very, very difficult for a variety of reasons to truly free somebody's property taxes. Even if you could just do the schools, that doesn't mean your property taxes are going to freeze, because you've got other taxing entities, unless everyone's frozen.
And you have your assessment.
And
So if your assessment increases more than the average, you will pay more in taxes, even under a property tax freeze.
And right now in Maine Township, the property values are coming back up, which that alone can change your assessment. So it's not as simple as just one thing. But in any event, I think part of it is, what does the state of Illinois ultimately do to try to solve this? Because they want to be able to give property tax relief, well, they've got to think about what's going to solve for that.
I guess I don't have a lot of faith in them, so that's why my problem, so I guess that's my problem.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's anything else, move on to instructional services. Barb?
Sure. 3 fairly short reports. The first one is the student activity participation report. And as I was sitting here, I was thinking about it a little bit and just thinking about my high school days. And what I remember best about high school, I hate to admit this, is probably my involvement in athletics and these clubs. I remember those adults who worked with me, and yes, Ken, I was a varsity sport athlete, don't laugh.
Thanks.
Little known fact, and what were those? Well, you will laugh. Really want to know? No. Don't want to put you on. Well, now you have to know.
No,
that's okay.
Send us a memo.
All right.
No, I want to know.
Basketball,
Yes.
which I'm only 5'2".
It's okay, I bet you were a great shot.
Volleyball, I was a great setter,
That one surprised me.
and field hockey.
Oh,
Sport,
that's
yeah.
good.
Good job.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm amazed at the range of opportunities that we have for kids, the service opportunities, even for those who aren't good at athletics, there's opportunities for them to be sports-minded, to practice sportsmanship, etc. So this is simply a tally of participation across a range of fields, and we provide this to you every year. The second report is, again, a short report. It's simply what we bring this point of the year, which is the tabulation of our Illinois State Scholars for 17-18, a slight tick up, and names of those scholars from each school listed following that report. And then the third report is our summer school report. Now you'll remember that we already brought before you approval for increase in fees and approval of the calendar for next summer. So this is kind of the other half of the report, which provides you with enrollment information to show you the numbers of opportunities we've had this summer for credit recovery, for enrichment. You'll see some of the information about some of the AP prep camps that occurred. You can see how some of the numbers varied from building to building for certain courses that students were taking. And then attached to that as well is the tabulation of enrollment really for the athletic camps, which is a good source of revenue to support the summer school program. And then the very last page is one page from Mary's budget report, which gives you a picture of where we expended, where we had expenditures and where we had revenue coming in. And I think Derek can chime in on this, but in general, we find that summer school costs that exceed revenues are in the area of special ed and supporting our income challenged students through scholarships. And you'll notice that we almost scholarships, I think it was $96,000 for scholarships for kids in summer school.
Yeah, I mean, for the scholarships, that's an area where we are not required to provide scholarships. It's something that we've chosen to do. It's something that for certain academic courses, we strongly encourage because we need those students to take that class in order to be academically successful in the coming year. And you know, when we talk about tough decisions, it's unfortunately probably things like this that are going to be on those lists of decisions. Because it's something that we've really done that is in nice service to kids, but we're not required to do.
There is a positive to it, in that it can help kids stay on track, and so then it saves sections during the regular school year, which actually are more costly than if they can take care of that in the summer. So it's not quite as costly decision, I should say.
Those profit and loss numbers include the scholarships, is that right?
Correct.
There's a separate line broken out, yeah, for scholarships.
I just wanted to make sure that the number was part of the number.
Also, I just want to quickly compliment that our district about the activity participation. This is so great that we have such a diverse sports programs. I think this is the most innovated by the other countries, especially overseas, that you know, we have such a diverse sports category programs that they do not have, and it gives students to have an opportunity to really get involved in many different sports and activities, and especially for high school ages, that's they're physically they're growing that most important time, and you know, we can provide through their physical abilities, through the healthiness, through getting involved in many sports like this. So highly encouraged, and it's great to see that the district is running so much wonderful programs like this. So continue to do the work. Thank you very much for the sports coaches and teachers who's involved in such.
Any questions or anything else on that? Okay, thank you. Ken, monthly update on FOIA requests?
We had 3 this month, they've all been processed or are being processed.
Okay, moving on, could I have a motion on the consent agenda of 7 A through E? I'm just waiting to see if someone wants to pull out minutes.
I will move 7A through E.
Is there a second? Judy, would you take the roll? Childers? Aye. Collins?
Aye.
Lee? Sullivan? Owen? Aye. Could I have a motion on item 8, approval of bids and awarding contracts? Okay.
Just a quick question.
Need a second.
Yeah, the way you said it was confusing. She needs a second.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, second.
There we go.
We have a second. That's what I said. We have a second.
It sounded like you said, can I have a second?
No.
Have a second.
Could I
That's what I
please
heard
have
you say.
someone second this? Yes. Okay, was there a second?
Yes,
Okay.
Terry.
All right. Go ahead.
Question.
Here.
There's a different information on the pages right here, based on the yearbook agreement. Copies, I guess based on the contract, it indicate 2,180 copies, and then 252 pages. Based on your the agreement, it only shows 240 pages instead of 252 pages, and the copies, instead of 2,180, it says 2,075 on these 2 pages. How is it different?
So we're going to cross out the 242 and make it consistent.
So the correct numbers for the motion
Are 2,180 copies at 252 pages.
and that is my motion. Is that your second?
Second, yeah, I'll second that.
That's not even a motion though, is it?
No, it's not, but I want to make it clear that that's what we're moving.
That's what
Okay. Okay.
that's the contract. So
Yeah, it's 2 different difference.
and that's the one that has the strike-throughs on it.
Yes.
It's got some language taken out. You want it
Well,
to-
we corrected some language.
Okay, anything else? Okay, Judy, would you take the roll? Sullivan?
Aye.
Collins? Childers? Lee?
Aye.
Owen? Aye. Could I have a motion on item 9?
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
This is the reduction of facility rental fees for Excel.
So just quick question, I know you guys raised this in year 2013, just asking for the same situation. Do we have to make a reduction every 4 years or so? Because the request on July 31st, 2013 for the reduction. Are we doing the same thing?
Talking about the facility fees?
Yeah.
We do it every year.
Every
This is an annual agreement that we have to do every year. This is the provider that comes in and provides tutoring for students. We do it all through Willis.
So if we do not reduce the cost, we're gonna charge.
We're gonna charge more, and we get some relief for our students to help get students in class that would struggle to get in there otherwise.
The students would end up paying more if we charge more.
And some of them may not have access, we have to get some other relief for students.
I mean, that's so important, but at the same time, because the financial kind of deficit, we need to think about some other ways to cover the cost or try to make some money out of somewhere, especially with the corporations, hopefully we can find a fee.
Absolutely, this is a direct conflict with the students.
That's important.
That's really directly. Excellent. Okay, anything else? Childers? Aye. Lee? Sullivan? Owen? Aye. And Collins, sorry. Can I have a motion on item 10, this is the approval of the school calendar for 2017-18?
So moved.
Second.
Anything you want to point out, or this is?
This mimics the calendar that we've adopted the last 2 years with the premise of having final exams before winter break and ending the school year before Memorial Day.
Which, by the way, we had good feedback on at meetings with teachers, and the kids seem to like it.
And more school districts in not just Illinois, but the Midwest are starting to adopt this type of calendar.
So just quickly want to echo, I know it's always hard to adopt a change as we are. And definitely without trying it, you do get a lot of negative feedbacks to love. So once, like this strategic move, I think it's definitely positive to the students and teachers and parents. This is one way to show that we do need to see some changes time to time. And this is one of the ways. Good job.
Anything else?
Yeah, actually, I do want to ask this. You know, I've heard of this concept, well, when I was at Northwestern, for example, for Martin Luther King Day, they talked about having a day on and not a day off. Is that something that we've ever considered? I mean, or are these numbers just tied into the contract and all of the, do we have?
We would have to seek a waiver from the state of Illinois
Oh.
to excuse it because Martin Luther King Day is a mandated school holiday. So we would have to go through the state, go through our local legislatures to get that waived to be in school on that day.
And generally, those schools would do a dedicated day towards studying that topic throughout
Right.
all the classes.
Right, which is what I was thinking about, I guess, but as a positive way to celebrate that day in terms of celebrating diversity, celebrating things that Martin Luther King stood for.
The only downside is if you, and I just want to say this, is that you are taking another day of instruction somewhere to commit to that. So you're taking another day of instruction out of the calendar to use just for that day across the curriculum. That's the cost of doing that. But
Because the contract does have
Oh,
the number of
okay.
days that they teach.
We would have to start
Okay.
even earlier in the summer.
Oh, forget it, okay, that's what I didn't know, I didn't know if there was like so tied into
Or
Yeah,
go big
number of
later
hours.
in the spring.
But you can think outside of the box, just because it isn't in school, we could talk about dedicating a day for it. Doesn't have to be a certified day of class. There could be gatherings, there could be all kinds of things, and being proactive about it, not an actual class day. Volunteer day.
Yeah, right. I guess one of the things that I have seen is just in general, you know, we get all these days off and all it does is become a 3-day weekend. It's kind of like Memorial Day, it's just a barbecue, you know, when really, I think in the past years, we've talked more about it being a celebration of our veterans or whatever, like Veterans Day and doing something for that. And I think that one of the things with Martin Luther King Day, and I guess because of the political situation now, I think that would be a great time to celebrate diversity and celebrate the things that our country is really made of. And I just don't think we do that enough, so that's why I brought it up. But
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
an
I'll
option.
bring it, we have a calendar committee that meets annually, so I can bring that up to them.
Or, I mean, maybe it's like Mary said, you could do a separate thing, activity or something outside of school. You know, maybe not worth upsetting the contract stuff, but I just think that in general, we should talk about some of these things more. Okay, that's all. Off my soapbox.
If there's anything that comes out
And
of
I
that.
don't think today's political climate, it's every year.
No,
Okay,
it's this year more
let's
than
go down.
ever, I think so.
Take the roll,
I'm not
please.
gonna get into it.
Collins?
Well, you did.
All right.
Collins,
Aye.
Childers,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sullivan, Owen. Aye. Could I have a motion on item 11, a new club?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Science National Honor Society Club. Any questions or
Great
comments?
idea.
Sounds great. Okay.
How do we support financially? Contributions, sponsors, whatever those clubs?
We do not. It's all volunteer, sponsor and students self-fund or fundraise.
Or if some great board member wanted to write the club a check. Just help me out there, Jay.
Okay. Ginny, would you take the roll? Lee,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Childers.
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Owen. Aye. Okay, I see on calendar items, we have a couple things here. We also added a couple committee meetings, I think, coming up, right?
25th and 27th, and the 1st, 25, 27, 25,
25, 26.
Was in, it was in Friday.
It was in Friday, but there's a
26.
couple more things.
What, 26 is what?
Finance.
No, education.
Education.
Education is the 26th.
And 25.
Still trying to get it.
Policy committees.
Policy is 25th. So policy is 25th and the 1st. And then
Education
education is the 26th.
26th.
Oh, okay, 3:30. The other ones are at 5. What time are the meetings on the 25th and the 1st?
It's 5 o'clock.
5. Okay.
And I'm sorry, the 26th is at 3:30?
3:30 education. Okay. Are there any, communications? Okay. Could I have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of review of closed session minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Childers,
Aye.
Collins,